It's a giant pill bottle. Wonder what's in there. Oh, wow. Am I the king? Made the galleys overnight through the desert and the yellow light, missing everything I left behind. Will they see me coming? Will they know I'm running? Got to Tucson in the dark. Keep an eye out for the law. 100 miles or more from a broken heart. Can they see me coming? Will they know I'm running? It's a long, long way to heal a band. One silver dollar in my hand. Road twists and turns, is there no end? When I get there, I can lay my head and heal a band. Saw a church along the way, a place to kneel, to hide and pray. Help me make it just one more day. Will they see me coming? Will they know I'm running? It's a long, long way to heal a band. One silver dollar in my hand. Road twists and turns, is there no end? When I get there, I can lay my head and heal a band. Gila Bend, the road to Gila Bend. Los Lobos. Listen to a cool Louis Perez is him and David Hidalgo, the guitarist who plays with Dylan on a lot of Dylan's recent albums, and it's just awesome. They write most of the songs, and then Cesar Rosas, he's the guy with the sunglasses, he writes his own songs by himself, or not with those two. For whatever reason, they've known each other all their lives, and but Louis and David worked together a lot. But there was a cool album that came out called Joyride, and it's a bunch of different people. John Doe from X, Jackie Green, Hidalgo does a couple tunes. Other people I don't know, but you know, poets and stuff. But they're reading the lyrics and stuff. And then there's occasional songs that are recorded, all demo, like on phones and stuff. And it's just really cool sounding. And it's 2 CDs, and David Hidalgo bookends it with that tune, and then he plays I don't know, he plays another one at the end, but it's really cool. And I've seen Los Lobos probably, as far as worldwide or countrywide, seen them in Olympia, Washington. And that was cool because that was a case of, I lived out in Issaquah, Washington for only like 4 or 5 months. I would have stayed there, although Washington's nuts now, not cool with anything going on there. I doubt Issaquah would have been quite like that, but for whatever reason, I don't understand these states like Washington, Oregon. I mean, Oregon's always been known as hippie, but in like Wisconsin and Minnesota, just being all these white cuck guys, man. I mean, I don't get it, dude. You know, we're just common sense stuff here, man. You don't have to completely denounce your manhood and race, you know. But I did the Olympic Peninsula. And I drove the whole way. It's just basically one road, and you get way out, way up in the corner of the United States here. You know, not counting Alaska. And you got the Rialto Beach. I spent at least a night there. I think it was a night, but unbelievable. Right on. You could actually drive out there and camp, and I was the only person there. And it's one of those. There's a river that empties right into the ocean there, and there's endless rocks, and it's rough as hell. And all the rocks are perfectly round, and all the sticks. In fact, I should have had this ready, and I kind of did, but not right here. What I did is there was just some pieces of wood, and I actually have several more that were just so perfectly rounded, and the wood is so old. And this is from that Rialto Beach. I picked this up there in like 2000. It was like 8 or 9, and it's just as awesome. And I have these other pieces of wood that look like they were carved, like by people, more like small ones, you know, for making bowls or something, which I have never done yet, but I still have them. And I got one in particular that is just this unbelievably, several that are just unbelievably carved, sort of, but not by nature. But unbelievable place, highly recommended. It's north of Forks, which is, I think that Twilight movie was based out of there. But there's nothing up there. You're driving, man. The trees, it's just massive pine trees. It's all logging country, and way up there, there's nothing up there. But you got the whole rainforest. Went to that, and I just happen to be wearing this shirt today because it's green. I wear all my green shirts in March, but that I'm talking about that, and I was wearing that shirt is purely coincidental. It just came together right now, like lightning, and killer. But then I'm coming around, so I went north, and then you go west, and then come down the Pacific side. And I just, for whatever reason, was checking. But anyway, I checked in Olympia, and Los Lobos is playing. And I went there, that was made that day, you know. And I ended up getting like a great seat, 3rd row or something. And that was a show. They used to always sign stuff after the shows. And I got a picture with Cesar. He was at the table. But I started to feel, sometimes I felt like there was an attitude towards me in like the white people thing, you know. I really, like on that CD I was talking about, it starts with I don't think it's Louis speaking, but somebody's like, welcome everybody of all genders and stuff, and it's like, dude, I got no problem with how you want to dress and identify or any of that once you're an adult, but you cannot be a woman if you're a man, like genetically and stuff, and you know, there's things you're not gonna be able to do. And just going all in on that. And again, I'm not going to make an issue. I get no problem with how you want to dress or whatever, you know, but you got to be prepared you're going to be looked at weird. That's just the way it is, because you look weird sometimes. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And just being okay with that. Sometimes you got to step in and be like, look, dude, you know, you got to think about this a little more. But I'm not saying, you know, you got to be prepared. You can't expect all of society to just be like, okay, you know, that's just all I'm saying. You can't, you don't have the right to have expectations for other people. So I just think it gets a little wacky with that stuff. But I've seen them just all over Waukegan, Illinois. And obviously opened the further festivals, you know. I remember going to Six Flags out there in Springfield. It used to be called something else at the time, just more a local name. That park there, that remember we took a field trip there in high school. It's like 2 hours away from where I went to high school in Norfolk, Rentham, Massachusetts. Hey, come on, guys. And me and a buddy were on they had one roller coaster. It was just one of those loops, and we actually got caught on the loop. And it was like right when we were leaving too, and the roller coaster stopped. Jim Barrett. And that was funny. But that was the first Further Festival. Bruce Hornsby, Los Lobos, Black Crows, I believe, were on that one. Hot Tuna. I'm not sure. Black Crows might have been the second year. The first 2 years were pretty good, 95 and 96. Although I remember going to SPAC, Saratoga Springs, to see him my first trip out there, and that's the only place my car's ever been broken into. And it was horrible because I was parked there, and I remember moving my car just closer to the fence when I went into the show. And I remember there was a couple of the hardcore deadheads were kind of sitting across from me, which I didn't think anything till after. And I had like cupcakes, and they ate my cupcakes. And the cool thing was I had a guitar in the back trunk, and they couldn't get in there, or they didn't bother, so that didn't get stolen. But all my CDs, which were all replaceable, except a couple were bootlegs, and it was a little bummed out. There's a lesson there, like don't bring rare CDs on trips because they may disappear. But that was Saratoga Springs, beautiful place, and that was a good camp too. That was a good camping experience. One of those ones where everybody in the camp was going to that show. So that was a good time. Good time. I remember going up there one time too with my dad. My dad took me. I mean, I could have taken myself, but he was going to Saratoga. He liked the horses. So I was like, and he dropped me off at the show and did his thing, went over to the track and picked me up. And so it was a good trip with my dad. The best Los Lobos show I think I ever saw was Northampton, Massachusetts. And it was in like just a park outside, and just one of those like 3-foot stages, like a park where you'll see like the local band play. And they just played and played. I think they loved it. It was a good crowd, enthusiastic, and I think they liked those down-home shows as I do. But at one point for the encore, Cesar Rosas, the guy, he walked off stage, and it was just like this to the rest of the band, and they played like 2 more songs without him. So it was pretty good. And they were digging. I think that's the only show. My favorite Los Lobos tune is probably that one time, one night. It's that one with the picking. One time, one night in America. Although they get a lot of great songs, but that was a great show. And those are kind of the what do they call them? The tent post shows. Seen them all over, in Florida several times. I did have a Florida story, I think. I don't know, maybe it'll come to me. But they're good. But I saw them at the Foxborough Stadium, the showcase thing, live with my buddy. And I think Cesar Rosas did not show up for that show at all. And they were like, we don't know where he is. And I saw him in Fort Lauderdale one time, and he didn't show up for that show either. That was 2 shows. And you're like, are they breaking up or anything? No, and I guess he just didn't want to come, or they were the first shows. Not sure what the hell the deal is, but it doesn't seem to be like any sort of issue. So, and I remember talking to the guys, and I got to know a couple of the guys at the mariachi band in Epcot at Walt Disney World. Randy. He played the bass and stuff. He was the band leader. He retired while I was I had a pass for like 8 years, and I was there, got to know him, and he retired. Yeah, I actually had his phone number because I was going to try and put something together, like some sort of podcast where I had this vision of playing a Disney tune with them with my ukulele, and I kind of chickened out. I guess maybe if I have it, I could still try that. But talking about their roots or something, or just why you love music. Like really, and what turns you on, I don't really need to know what your songs you wrote them about and stuff. It's like what motivates you to love music, and what do you still listen to and stuff. Something along those lines. But there's a video where Los Lobos is playing with the Mariachi Cobra is the name of the band there at Disney World. And they're awesome. And they did some show in Tucson. There's like a big gathering at Tucson. Mariachi's a pretty big, serious thing, and I got to really know and love it. It's funny because I go back to some albums I listen to. Like there's a great album that came out a few years ago. Probably over 10 now, but there was 3 of them. Los Super 7. Kind of an evolving cast, and some like Tex-Mex guys I didn't really know, and like Doug Somm was on a tune on their first album, and Halago, but they do that El Burro song, Burr, the next Spanish of ass. And but they play that mariachi Cobra plays it, you know, and it's like they do make the burro sound with the fiddle. That was a but I just listened to that the other day, and I'm like, oh, that's, you know, I knew that song before I learned it with those, by listening to because I'd go to Mariachi Cobra every time and stay for their whole performance. So eventually they just kind of get to know. And Randy is one of those. He was one of those guys. He's just got that knack for talking to the audience and coming up to people and making you feel like an old friend. And his brother's name was Steven, and I believe he might have been older. And I don't know if he's still in the band. I think he just saw a stream from there. But he was not friendly at all. And I mean, just not friendly at all. And it was a shame, because that's my name. But Omar took over for Randy. And Omar's a great guy, very nice, you know. And there was, I think, another guy, it was Louie. He was only there for a year or two before I stopped going. And the stream I saw the other day, and very rarely do they show up on the streams because they finish their day early, and most of the streams are afternoon. And not too many guys watch the music. It's a bummer. Ron on the Go is one of the better ones for watching the whole performances, but there's other issues I have with him. But he's another friendly guy. Most of the guys are friendly. That's Steve. There's a couple of them who are just, I saw them hundreds, at least 100 times. Let's put it that, you know, in 15 to 20 minute shows. And some of the guys would just never talk to you, you know. And other guys you talk to for like 10, 15 minutes after they're done, you know. So really good guys. But you know, and Los Lobos can't recommend them enough. The only problem, oh yeah, when I saw Los Lobos with one of my buddies, a Wisconsin guy, just one of those Wisconsin guys, and which I'm not even gonna say his name. If he sees this, he knows what I'm talking about him. But we went and saw him at the casino there with the guitar, but it was just in like a tent on the side of it, and there wasn't too many people. And that's what's a shame of bands like them and the Radiators. You could go to shows. They're awesome bands, and there's like 60 people in there. But there was a bunch of Mexican, like real Mexicans there in the front row, and me and my buddy, and just not a lot of people. But they played to those Mexican people, and it was like, I understand, and but it was like kind of standoffish to us, you know. There was a sense of that. And the other thing is, they just played like "Don't Worry, Baby" and "La Bamba," which are fine, but I don't want, you know, every show they're just playing those songs, you know, and it's a deep, dark hole, and it leads, which is a great tune, but I don't want to hear just the same, their bigger songs every time, you know. Like, I remember seeing one show, I want to say it was either in Clearwater or Fort Lauderdale, but I went in there, and I think my buddy from Wisconsin was with me too. It might have been Clearwater. It could have been even in Fort Myers. But we were so fucking stoned. And the first 3 songs were just, they were newer songs. I think one of them was that Little Things. And it was new songs. And they're just cool songs that they just don't play those enough. And it was like the first 15 minutes were so fucking good. And it's like, I remember that Fort Lauderdale show where Cesar Rosas didn't show up, but they played a ton of covers in that show. Like they play Cinnamon Girl a lot and stuff, but that show they played like just a lot more. I don't have complete recollection of them, but it was pretty good. And that's another disappointing thing too. For me, I mean, I play music, not as good as them, but I would never do, like they'll cover like Cinnamon Girl will be the encore, and it'll be the encore for like years, you know? And it's like, look, man, you guys know so many tunes. Why do you keep, you know, they'll play like Politician by Cream, you know. That's a pretty, but I guess if you were a teenager in '68 and were into guitar music, you'd be into Cream. Like, you know, like there's bands, like I always kind of sometimes wonder, not always, but like with the Grateful Dead, they're such a part of my life, and usually the people that I know well know a lot of them, but like to us, any Grateful Dead song, Brown Eyed Women, Truckin', Sugar Magnolia, Jack Straw, there's no real difference. They're all, we know them all, you know. and we like if I'm playing music, I'll play just about play just a ton of them. You know, Loose Lucy, whatever. And some of these people, the people who just listen to the radio have no idea. You know, and to us, those are just like standards, and it's pretty funny in that respect. To me, just I don't even know what it is. I don't think it's irony, but you know, it's like my siblings. My siblings are, and I don't know. I love you guys. I unfortunately none of you probably will watch this video, but they're just not curious about many things. It seems, especially music. It's just such a. I remember one time my siblings came down for my brother's like 50th birthday or 60th. I forget what. One of them didn't come. There's always one of us. But anyway, they're over at my brother. They have his wife's brother is kind of one of those financial fucking slime balls, and he, whatever. Too bad. That's what I think. And he's got a nice house, you know, on the golf course with a pool, and they're all hanging out. I come in and they're just listening to like fucking Who's Next and shit. And I come in and I'm like, I got my Bose thing, and I'm like, wow, let's put on this Taj Mahal. It's like one of Taj Mahal's Hawaiian albums, and it's just fucking great. And they just can't hear it. As soon as I put it on, like one song into it, it's like, all right, let's go inside. And I'm sorry, if you can't put that on, even if you don't know it and understand this is cool, it pains me. Because I'm evangelical about my music, you know? It's like, I'm going to put the time in, man, and I'll bring you right there. You know? You may not want to put the time in, but you got to trust me, man. You really got to trust me, because I got great taste in music. And it was just so disappointing. They're just so... It's tough. It's not enjoyable. It's tough for me. Because I can't talk about stuff, you know? Like, you can't even bring world affairs up. Never mind specific political things. They don't want to talk about anything interesting. It's just so frustrating, you know? And yet, they'll talk about last weekend where they drank. And like, oh, and then you came over and it's like that all the time. And it's like, I don't know. Even if I was there, I don't think I'd want to just, I don't know. I just feel like I don't fit in most places with most people, but thankfully I'm pretty well self-entertained. My hat does go off for people with kids, because I don't have any kids and I still don't feel like I have enough time in the day. So I don't know how you do it. But yeah, I mean, you should definitely, and if you haven't seen Los Lobos, I highly recommend it. I'll see them again, but I get a little frustrated, like I said, that they just play kind of their better-known songs all the time. And some people like that, but I don't. You know, like the Stones, I think it'd be better if they didn't play Jumpin' Jack Flash and Satisfaction at every show. I just feel that way. And I know Mick's like, oh, these people, it might be their only show. So what, man? The Grateful Dead, at the height of their popularity, Touch of Grey came up every 4 or 5 songs, and that was it. And they wouldn't have had it any other way, you know, the fans, you know. And it's funny, because I remember when you first seen the Dead, you know, I don't want to hear Truck, and that's the big popular one. Then after you get into it, it became one of the funner ones, because that was one at the shows that everybody knew, so the place had an extra little, you know, the first timers knew Truckin', you know, so you kind of appreciated they could get everybody going like some songs couldn't, you know. And it's also got a great jam, the little hideaway jam that Jerry does at the end, you know. And Bobby would sometimes, you know, I was before my time in the early '80s, he'd do a lot of weird stuff, like when she went and had her sex change, you know, what in the world ever became a sweet Jane? She lost her sparkly nose, she isn't the same. Ever since she went and had her sex change. And she'd do stuff like that. Then when I was seeing him at the late 80s into the 90s, he'd be like, ain't it a fucking shame? And now he doesn't say fucking anymore. He just says, back to the original. So that the little things like that. And it's funny, because I listen to the Dead a ton. And every time that song comes on, like if it's a new recording I haven't heard or something, that song, and I'm like, all right, get ready to listen, see what he does, and I'll forget and that's like the second verse, and I'll like be doing something and totally forget to listen what he said there. And you don't really notice when you're listening to it, enjoying it, but doing something else. You're like, what did he do anything there? So, but I digress. But that's how it all started. When Garcia had his diabetic coma, the first show back was he played with Los Lobos at the Sweetwater Cafe in Marin County there. Mill Valley, I think maybe it's in. But so they were a big part of that. And there's a good video on YouTube of backstage. My first show was July 2nd, 1989 at Foxborough Stadium. Los Lobos was going to open, but they didn't. But backstage, Hidalgo, Bobby, and Jerry, and I think Cesar, I don't know if it was Cesar or Louis, but they played This Land Is Your Land, I believe. And there's a video of that. Them just literally standing there, out just on the pavement. You know, there's little fences and stuff, but they just stand there and play. And they're all just normal people, you know? It's a shame, like, somebody like Mick Jagger. And the Stones have done a great job. Like, Keith Richards is crazy and delusional as he is about his own, because he's just a little guy. But he thinks he spent a few nights in prison, dude. Say what you want. He wasn't the Keith Richards that the authorities love at the time, you know? So, and I think he uses that cred. It's whatever he spent in there is more than I'd like to, but he's a pretty down to, you know, they insulate themselves from all the craziness. You know, it's more like the roadies and shit that benefit from the rock and roll shit, at least with the Stones stuff. You know, he's I guess he's had his share of groupies, but he's pretty much been only married to 2 women and likes being at home. Remember Charlie saying in one of his interviews that, like, him and Keith like the past, and like they'll get box sets of like music and read all the notes and listen to it and just sit at home and love it. You know, and Mick's, you know, always incorporating the dance and stuff, and like that horrible Anybody Seen My Baby, worst Stone song ever. But they actually got sued, and Katie Lang got a writing credit on that for that song Constant Craving. Constant, anybody seen my... Horrible. Worst Stone song. I have in my iPod, I have all the Stone song, every Stone song, and I have just about every, there might be 1 or 2 I don't have, and I'd be surprised at that. But when I import them into my iPod, the only song I uncheck is Anybody Seen My Baby. It's the only one. Speak softly, don't wake the baby. Give me one more before I have to leave. Yeah, there's a lot of work out there, and everything will be alright. And I'll send for you, just a matter of time. Our life, the only thing we know. Come and tell me once more before I have to go, that there's a better world out there, though it don't feel right. And that will be like a day, just a matter of time. Yeah, I don't know it good enough. I'm trying to read the one line I cannot read. It got too dark. And I hope it will be as it seems, but another empty dream. There's a home for you and me, in a place living happily or quietly. Don't make a sound. Believe in what you're doing. there. It will be alright. And we'll be there. Just a matter of time. And we'll all be together. Just a matter of time. Matter of time. Yeah, that one fell apart on me. Sorry. That sucks. That's very frustrating. You know, I'm going along, and there's just that second line. I couldn't read it, and I just don't know it well enough, and there ain't a whole lot going on there. That's for that. But I put 25 minutes into this video by that point, so you just gotta go on. I used to know a little. I hadn't played that one in a while, and I decided that Road to Gila Bend got me kind of. I'm like, I'm gonna do a little Los Lobos thing. And I used to know a little bit of a lick there. I just couldn't spend some time. We'll revisit that one. I mean, I wrote it down because I do intend to make it a regular part of the repertoire, but I hadn't gone to it in a while. That's what happens, you know. It's amazing because I know a lot of tunes. Well, I guess I don't know them. If I'm looking at the paper and can read it, I know them. And I do know a lot of tunes, but not as many as I try and play. But there is just constantly songs I'm adding. And like lately, actually, it's been the songs I'm adding are like my favorite tunes, by like "Love Her Madly" by The Doors. I never really just playing that solo guitar just didn't really occur to me. You know, you're like the piano's such a big part of that, but it works, and I'll be getting that one down. And Lola by the Kinks. You know, that's just one of those. I remember growing up when I was in junior high and shit, they used to have those Memorial Day top 500s, and that was always one of the top 5 tunes, Lola. You know, Born to Run, Stairway to Heaven. Which are all these 5 and 6 minute songs, and then it'd be Satisfaction, which is like 2.5 minutes, you know. And Day in the Life. So that's my story. Sticking to it. Yeah, that was disappointing that song just fell apart there at the end. But I recommend that one very highly. Matter of Time is on. Don't know. One of their early ones. I don't think it's on Kiko. I think it's like the album before that, or maybe the Wolf Survives. But Elvis Costello does a version of that on something. I don't know if there was a Los Lobos tribute album or something, but he does a version of that. Always been a big fan of that. Robert Plant would say when Kiko was a huge album that came out in the early 90s. He's like, that's one of my favorite albums. And for me, the Colossal Head was the album after that, and that's the album with Mossy Moss, which David Hidalgo plays. I went and when I saw Peter Frampton at Red Rocks. Sonny Landreth opened. That was awesome. And then B.B. King played, or spoke. B.B. King, he sat down. This was right before he died, and he played a few licks, and it was beautiful, but mostly he just sat there and sang and spoke. And Peter Frampton came out and played like most of the guitar on The Thrill Is Gone. And but then during Peter Frampton's set, he had David Hidalgo come out and play Mossy Moss and Dear Mr. Fantasy. Pretty cool. With Sonny Landreth, too. Another guy you should all... These are the guys, man. You know, just because they're not as popular as fucking the bad bands, it's... You know, I'm sorry, but listening to REO Speedwagon and Foreigner is just... There's more rewarding things out there. Much more. No offense to those guys. You know, no, and truly no offense to them. You go out there and hit the boards for year after year and just playing it live, and not many people do anymore. But it's respect, you know. But you gotta dig a little deeper. You know, J.J. Cale is as good as it gets, and but you know, nobody in my family knows who the hell he is. And they're missing out. That's why I bring that up, and it frustrates me because God, you'd really like it if you gave it the chance. You know, Taj Mahal, shit like that. So that's what I advise, man. You gotta listen to douchebags like me.